All right, so I see the red light on, and it's been a while since I actually went live, and I'm live on StreamYard, and this is the very first ever episode for the In the Hot Seat podcast. And of course, as always, I'm not alone. I do have a guest with me at this time. Would you like to introduce yourself?
What's up, everybody? I'm Josh Rosowskis. David and I have been friends for a while, and I am the host of the In Ring Reality podcast, which we're actually going to go do this again as soon as we're
Mm-hmm.
done here for that. So, we're going to be talking about Double or Nothing a lot today. So, hopefully, we don't repeat ourselves too much. But thanks for having me,
Mm-hmm.
bro. It's good to be here.
Yeah, no problem. It's kind of fitting with the name Double or Nothing, so it's pretty much double the podcast.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, I had this idea for a while for doing the In the Hot Seat podcast. So not only will you see it here on YouTube, but you actually have it on other platforms. So it'll be basically, would it be Mixer, would it be Twitch, would it be Anchor or Spotify? They're looking to be on there. So without further ado, we'll get right into AEW Double or Nothing, and gonna talk about the matches first, as always, and then give our thoughts on it. So with the first match, where we did have the casino ladder match on this one, and I'll actually get to have who did we see on the actual match itself, and how they did this was pretty interesting because they had like every 2 minutes somebody would actually come out on this, and it was a different type of like setup, so which was really cool on that. And we had the two members of SCU on this one. We also had and that's an Orange Cassidy, and that's just to name a few and everything. So, with this starting things off, and also having it be where if you won it, you would be the number one contender, basically to the world title, if I'm not mistaken. So, also where we also had an interesting side of this, we also had a mystery opponent, and we actually ended up having the debuting of Brian Cage, which is cool, and he actually ended up winning it. So Brian Cage was also not only he actually had Taz with him, so that was interesting. Looks like Taz is going to be a manager now, so I want to see where that goes. And it's kind of fitting for Brian Cage to actually be in AEW and debut at Double or Nothing and win the ladder match. So, what are your thoughts on the opening match?
Well, I really like the way they did it as well because it reminded me like of a cross between Money in the Bank and Royal Rumble. Like it was a
Mm-hmm.
Money in the Bank match because it's the same stipulation, like winner gets a world title match, but it was also a Royal Rumble because it was like every 90 seconds somebody came in. So I thought that was really, really cool the way they did that. They like combined their buy-in from the first Double or Nothing last year with like a Money in the Bank concept. So I thought that was pretty cool. I also really like the idea of the mystery opponent. Like everybody was guessing the wrong people. Like Brian Cage was
Mm-hmm.
like the last person I was guessing, but I really
Yeah.
like this pairing. I think that him and Taz are going to work really well together. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know like what the justification they're going to do storyline wise, but I mean, that's why you watch the shows to figure that out. I was kind of pulling for Darby Allen because I think, Darby Allen's been the biggest made star in AEW. So I was a little bit upset that they didn't go in that direction.
Yeah.
But then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, whoever wins this is not going to actually defeat the world champion probably yet. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
good stepping stone for Brian Cage from that perspective as well. So yeah, I like the way the first match laid out.
Yeah, it was definitely one of my favorite matches, definitely for sure. And just by going with the other names, like we were talking about, we had obviously Brian Cage, we talked about Orange Cassidy, Joey Janela, Luchasaurus, which is pretty interesting, Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian, Kip Sabian. We also mentioned Darby Allen and Colt Cabana. It was in this one. And the spot that Darby Allen did, that was pretty insane with the skateboard off the
Oh,
top
that
of the
the
ladder.
skateboard on top of the ladder and then jumping off the ladder. I was like, holy
Yeah,
S. I mean, that was great. That was
yeah,
great.
that was
And
dope.
and my favorite spot of that match though, where everybody was like, realizing, okay, Brian Cage is the biggest threat in the match, and they took the giant double or nothing chip and like buried him with the chip and the chairs, and
Hmm.
that
Yeah,
was a lot of fun.
yeah. I was kind of expecting him to like just wake up and just throw it all over the place like that,
Yeah,
like angrily and pissed off.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I'm definitely curious to see what Brian Cage is gonna have to offer now, and I was able to watch it on Impact, so that was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
And
I didn't really watch Impact. I'm not
mhm.
really familiar with his work. Obviously, I know who he is, but haven't seen much of him. So he'll be really fresh and new for me. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and then with the next match where we had MJF, a returning MJF and Jungle Boy on this one, and with this one, actually MJF getting the win, I'm not really too mad at it, to be honest. And to see what would be happening, I was kind of hoping it would be in the ladder match, but that didn't really get to happen. So your thoughts on that match?
I really liked the chemistry between these two. I mean, they fought one other
Hmm.
time on Dynamite, but this was like the
Yeah.
first time for me that they really showed what they could do because they were given darn close to a half hour. And there were plenty of times when I thought Jungle Boy Jack Perry was going to win. So even
Hmm.
though it was obvious that MJF would win, I really liked the way that they laid that out. And MJF is such an old school throwback heel. Like everything he does
Yeah.
is so heelish, and I love that. Like he's pretty much living his kayfabe gimmick. So he's one of my favorite characters in AEW, and yeah,
Mhm.
this was probably one of my favorite matches of the night. Really enjoyed this.
Yeah, I feel like MJF would be kind of like dealing with the whole Jurassic Express for a while after that. And yeah, him as a heel, I definitely really enjoy it. And I like how you said like the old classic type of heel. So he's definitely got that going for him. And it's definitely working well for him. And then what we had, well, we have one of the new championships be presented, and that was the TNT Championship. And in this one, we had Cody and Lance Archer, and Archer basically dealing with Jake the Snake Roberts, which is pretty cool. I like those two pairing and everything. Of course, Cody having on Anderson on his side and everything. So Cody actually getting the TNT Championship. I was kind of hoping we would go to Lance Archer on this one. So Cody actually getting it, I guess it really doesn't surprise me either. So what are your thoughts on that and the TNT Championship?
Well, first of all, for a promotion that is all about, throwback and making people feel good and having beautiful titles, what in the
Hmm.
world were they thinking with this design of a TNT championship? I mean, it's bad.
Hmm.
It is bad. It looks worse than the WWE 24/7 title, which is not. So I
Hmm.
don't really understand what their thinking was on that. I mean, I
Yeah,
get the color design because that's the same as the network, and it is the
pretty
TNT
much.
title.
Hmm.
So I get that, but
Hmm.
the overall design and look at the belt, like I'm not about that. I don't know about you, but I'm not about that. But second
Yeah.
of all, the way the match went down, I'm not surprised at all. I had Cody pick to win this thing because the whole buildup was like, I have to win this title because I can't challenge for the world title because of what happened
Yeah.
in the MJF feud. So I was not surprised at all by that. And Cody is the top babyface in all of pro wrestling. I mean, say what you want about a few other people here and there, and it's debatable. But in my opinion, Cody is the top babyface in all of wrestling right now. So it's good to see him be the TNT champion because I think the TNT championship is going to be a lot like the IC title or the TV title in WCW and ECW. I think it's going to be that
Hmm.
back to being that workhorse championship, defended all the time, challenger after challenger. So I think Cody is definitely the right choice for the first champion. So,
Hmm.
I really was not at all surprised by the choice. And I loved the chemistry that these two had. Again, like we said with Jungle Boy and MJF, they did such a good job this entire pay per view of both people in the match looking really, really strong. And there were plenty of times when I thought, well, Lance Archer's going to take this thing. And I also really liked the way that they subverted expectations because everybody was like, well, once Mike Tyson got announced, they're like, well, that's obviously the end of the match. There's going to be
Right.
shenanigans there. But that didn't happen. It was still a straightforward ending. The only thing Mike Tyson did was help get the managers out for the finish of the match. So I was also a big fan of that, of the subverting expectations as well. So yeah, this was a good match. I think this was Cody's probably best match since he took on his brother last year, really, in my opinion. So yeah, I
Right.
enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, getting back to the championship title and everything, I mean, I guess I'm more on the fence on it. I have to see it more. And from what I'm hearing, it wasn't really nearly finished yet. Of course, with the situation that we're in right now. So that's what I heard. But I mean, we'll
Oh,
see what
I
happens
didn't,
after that.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I
That's all
I
right.
didn't I didn't hear about that aspect of it. So that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Like if the
Hmm.
title wasn't quite done to the point where they
Hmm.
want it to be, then
Yeah.
that's a little makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, because I noticed like we just had like that red painting on the bottom, so I feel like they're trying to like finish it up and paint it more. That's what I
Yeah.
got out of that.
It
Yeah.
was kinda like they're panicking like, "Well, this thing has to debut, so
Hmm.
I guess it is what it is." I didn't pick up on that at the time, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. Just have to wait on what the whole thing is with that. The next thing that we did have in one of the women's matches where we had Chris Statlander and Penelope Ford on this one, and I know for going into this one, I was actually hoping Chris Statlander would win, and that's fine, and she actually did. So she's definitely again another one of my favorites that I've been going for and everything. So to see where she's gonna go, maybe get that another chance again for the women's title would be pretty cool. We'll see what happens with that. And yeah, your thoughts on this one?
Well, this obviously was a replacement match because
Hmm.
unfortunately Dr. Britt Baker got hurt going into this.
Yeah.
The entire feud was about Dr. Britt Baker and Chris Statlander. So
Right.
once Penelope Ford came into this, I think it was pretty obvious that Statlander would win. And I really
Hmm.
like Statlander's gimmick a lot. It's
Yeah,
so
the whole alien
different.
thing is really cool.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
it's so different and so unique because she doesn't speak. She just lets her mannerisms talk for her, which is
Right.
so different than anything we've seen in wrestling right now. And she's really growing on me. She every match I see her in, she just gets better and better and better. Actually, the same thing is true with Penelope Ford, but just particularly with Chris Statlander. Like every time I see her, I'm more and more of a fan of what she
Hmm.
brings to the table. So I'm not at all surprised that she won here. I'm just really
Hmm.
heartbroken over Britt Baker. Britt Baker is one of my favorite things in wrestling right now. Like she's been killing it with this heel
Hmm.
run with the role
Yeah.
model character. So I'm really heartbroken for her. And they said she had 3 different injuries simultaneously. So I'm
Yeah, I think she
hoping,
like had someone land on the knee, I think on Dynamite or something like that. I
yeah,
remember watching the replay on that. That looked pretty crazy.
yeah, yeah. So hopefully it's not as bad as what it sounds like. And
Right,
she,
yeah.
because it sounds like right now, like she might miss a year or more, which would
Mm,
really just suck.
yeah,
I
that's
mean, just
brutal.
talk about just deflating a career. But yeah, as far as what they put on, I thought it was great. And I'm actually a really big fan of Penelope Ford as well. So the
Mm.
more exposure she gets, the better from that aspect as well.
Yeah, speaking of that, we actually saw her in a ladder match, so she always likes to get involved somehow.
Yeah, I like her and Chris Sabian. They remind me a lot
Hmm.
of Killer Cross, or sorry, Karrion Cross. Can't get used to that.
Yeah, I'm
Karrion
trying to
Cross,
myself. Yeah.
Karrion Cross and Scarlett Bordeaux. Like that's the
Mm-hmm.
dynamic that they remind me of. Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian. So I like the
Hmm.
dynamic between those two.
Yeah, then we move on to where we had Dustin Rhodes and actually Shawn Spears on this one. And it looks like I guess more Shawn Spears is more dealing with like singles action now. Of course, beforehand he was trying to find a tag team partner, so that didn't work out. So I guess it's for the best in a way. He's more dealing with the singles one for the moment, but unfortunately, actually, Dustin Rhodes was able to get the win. So I mean that's fine and fair. So what are your thoughts on that match?
Honestly, I was not a fan of that outcome because the whole thing was supposed to be about building up Shawn Spears. So if I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
criticize anything from this show, it's the outcome of that match. Like it didn't make any sense. Like I get that they were trying to make a mystery: is Dustin Rhodes done or not? But they could have pulled it
Right.
without Dustin Rhodes winning here because Dustin Rhodes gains nothing, and whereas Shawn Spears could have gained so much from a victory here. So I just was
Mm-hmm.
not a fan of that outcome. But the match itself was good and fine for what it was. Dustin still puts on amazing matches at his age. Like as long as he wants,
Mm-hmm.
he can go. But I just didn't particularly like the choice of him winning here.
Yeah, I pretty much agree on that. And for Sean Spears, he could be doing it definitely a lot more. And him being a heel, I think is gonna go somewhere. So we'll see, what the momentum brings afterwards if he
And
does get a win back.
yeah. And the other thing I don't like about him right now is that
Hmm.
they know they have something in him, but they
Yeah.
can't seem to settle on what it is. Like he changes, like you talked about, there was supposed to be the search for a tag partner, which went nowhere. Then he was the
Hmm.
chairman, which seemed to go nowhere. Then he was like this
Hmm.
news reporter guy coming off this. So it's like,
Right.
make up your mind of what you're
Hmm.
actually going to do with Sean Spears. Now, I
Hmm.
wonder if that has a lot to do with Telly Blanchard probably doesn't want to work during the pandemic. So I think that might be hurting him a lot too
Right.
from that perspective. So
Could be.
I can cut so I can cut him some slack there, but like, yeah, just settle on something with Shawn and run with
Hmm.
it because like he was definitely one of the most underutilized guys when he was Ty Dillinger in WWE. So capitalize on it and stop wavering on it. That's my big thing.
Yeah, if they're not gonna have really in the tag team division, I think having him be like the chairman like that, and then having him be with Tully, I think that makes a lot more sense, and I think that was cool when they started that out. But
Yeah,
and
for
then
sure.
yeah, and the next one where we have the AEW Women's Championship, and we have Sheeta and Nyla Rose on this one, and this one actually surprised me. Having Sheeta actually win the women's title, I thought that was actually pretty cool. I didn't actually expect that. So Sheeta definitely growing on me on that too for sure. So I was actually expecting Nyla Rose to actually keep the title, but that didn't happen. So that was a pretty interesting twist. So what are your thoughts on that one?
I'm 100% with you. I did
Hmm.
not pick Sheeta at all to win here. I mean, I know she's been on an incredible winning streak, but that winning streak was more to do with the fact that they needed a top women's star because Nyla wasn't around. Like she
Hmm.
wasn't cleared to work or comfortable to work during the pandemic until now. So I thought for
Yeah.
sure that Nyla would retain. But then, of course, we had the tragedy with Anna Carmera
Hmm.
which she worked with in Stardom. She worked with her in Stardom a lot. So I wonder
Hmm.
if that was, especially with them showing her memorial graphic right before this match and hyping up that relationship on commentary throughout. I wonder if that was more of a decision where Nyla Rose was like, yeah, go ahead and let her have a title for a minute and help build her spirits back up. Because she was probably really devastated by losing one of her best friends, and it did create a nice feel good moment for the pay per view. So I don't have a
Hmm.
problem with it. I would just be interested to see, are they going to have her now with the long run for the title, or does it go
Yeah.
back to Nyla Rose? Like it really throws everything for a
Hmm.
loop there in terms of that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's always good to have a surprise outcome or two. Like we had one in the main event in my eyes, which we'll get to when we get to it. But it's always nice to have some nice, like unexpected moments during a show. So that was definitely
Hmm.
one. So
Yeah.
yeah, no issues here. Just kind of
Hmm.
surprised as not what I expected going in.
Yeah, I saw the story too on Twitter. It's pretty sad of what happened and everything. It sucks, like dealing with cyberbullying, I heard, and stuff like that. So no one should have to go through that. But I feel like the match, between those two, and I don't think it ended there. So I feel like there would be probably a few coming out of this. I would think so, anyway.
Oh, I think so as well. I think these
Hmm.
two will probably have at least another match, if not two or three more. They definitely are the best two top stars that they have right now with Britt Baker out. So I definitely don't see this ending anytime soon.
Yeah, and with the next one, we basically get into the two main events, if you want to put it this way, of course, with the World Championship, Jon Moxley and Brody Lee. This one was pretty intense, especially with the history between these two and everything. And that one spot where they went through like the ramp and everything, wasn't expecting that, so that was pretty crazy. And actually, Jon Moxley keeping the title, which is fine, and I'm sure Brody Lee would get his chance later on, but not right now since he just actually debuted in AEW. So, and him being the leader of the Dark Order, which I was really surprised. I didn't see any Dark Order members that I noticed or anything like that. So that was pretty well. Yeah, your thoughts?
Well, I agree with you, and I think this was the best possible outcome because they had just put the title on Moxley, but at the same time, you don't want to kill the momentum of Mr. Brody Lee. So I
Mhm.
thought that the decision to have it be a true one-on-one match was definitely the right call because there are some people out there, right or wrong, that see Brody Lee still as Luke Harper. They see him as the guy that was never really given a chance to do anything in WWE. So this was his
Mhm.
chance to shine and show how good he really was. And this was his best match in years. So I really like
Mhm.
the chemistry between these two. And Mox just continues to be more and more like every match that he has, he gets more and more sadistic as the match goes throughout. Like that huge paradigm shift, you mentioned it, the huge paradigm shift through the
Yeah,
stage. I was like, what the heck happened there? I mean,
that's crazy.
it was like it was like the ECW heat wave spot from 1998. That's what that was. And I did not expect that at all. So, yeah, this match was great. It's probably my favorite world title match of the year by far. So I really, really enjoyed this. And I think the right outcome happened for sure. Because you don't want to pull out the rug from Jon Moxley so soon, but you still had Brody Lee look really strong. So wherever he goes next, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where things go. I feel like they might like continue things here, especially like with the whole Dark Order and everything, to see how John Moxley can actually deal with them and stuff like that, and then see who else he can get along with. So I can kind of see that going. But yeah, we'll see where that goes. And there's basically the main event, and this one was pretty insane as all hell, and pretty much anything goes. And with this one, with the Stadium Stampede, of course, the Elite and Matt Hardy, and of course, the Inner Circle on this one. And it was pretty cool how they did it, like in the football stadium where the Jaguars play. So, I liked how they, pretty much went a little bit of everywhere, pretty much did a little bit of everything, whether it be like them being in the pool or bar and stuff like that. And you know, this one where the elite actually standing tall. So I'm pretty curious because I know we were supposed to see Blood and Guts before everything else went down with the pandemic and everything. So I wonder how that match is going to be when they do have it. So I pretty much expect anything at this point. So matches like these, I feel like we should have more often. So, the elite winning is really cool. So your thoughts on that?
Well, I wonder if this was supposed to be a replacement for Blood and Guts because I actually
That could
thought,
be.
and yeah, because I actually thought that the Elite was going to lose this match because I thought their big moment was going to be in Blood and Guts. So for them to go emphatically over and go the other way around, that's why I called it a surprise in my eyes because it
Mhm.
was. for the Elite to come out on top. But my goodness, the way that they filmed this match. And by the way, let's just get this out of the way and point this out for anybody that's complaining about the Matt Hardy spot. I mean, did you not realize that this was clearly the one match on the show that was pre-taped because the commentary
Mm,
was off and they couldn't have had that Matt Hardy spot without it
yeah.
being pre-taped with because
Hmm.
he had to, have time to change all his outfits and whatnot. So I
Yeah.
I have a feeling like that spot in particular was pre-taped before we got the news about Shad Gaspard. So
Hmm.
don't come down on AEW for being insensitive. I mean, they mentioned both Shad and Hannah Kamara during the show. So they were respectful as they could be, but this match was clearly pre-taped. So I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, as far as like the way it went down, this thing, I thought Money in the Bank was crazy. But this thing was like spot after spot of like what's going to happen next and what's going on over here. And I just love having Hangman Adam Page back. I mean, I missed
Hmm.
Hangman Adam Page so much. He's probably my favorite worker in AEW that I didn't have a lot of exposure to before this company happened. And the thing with the horse, like him riding that horse into the
Yeah.
stadium, I was like, oh yeah, this
Hmm.
this is gonna go down and be awesome. And I loved,
Yeah.
him and Jake Hager taking that drink at the bar, and then
Hmm.
it's like, is Hangman gonna turn here? And then he was like, nope, wow. And it was,
Yeah.
I
Suckered him in.
yeah,
Yeah.
Hangman was my favorite part of this match, and
Mm-hmm.
Jericho yelling at Aubrey Edwards during
Mm-hmm.
the match when he thought he had a 3 count and going to the replay booth,
Yeah, I
treating it
think he
like it
wanted
was
to overturn or
his.
something.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that playing off the football comedy of them being in a football stadium. Like
Hmm.
I loved everything about this match, and my God,
Yeah.
that last spot with Kenny Omega hitting. I can't remember if it was Santana or Ortiz. Do you remember which one it was that he hit it on? But either
Yeah. I'm
way,
not too sure.
yeah, whichever one it was that he hit it
That was
on,
one of them.
yeah, it was one of the two. One of the two members of Santana and Ortiz got hit with this one-wing angel from the top of the stadium seating all the way down through a table that was down below on the field. I was like, my God, they
Yeah,
just
that's
took the
awesome.
WrestleMania spot with Kevin Owens and like put it up here, like raised it up
Mhm.
another level. I mean,
Yeah, it was
that
right up
was
there.
that was one of the craziest spots I think I've ever seen. Like, and the
Mhm.
thing is that a lot of casual wrestling fans might not get. Like, you don't have a chance to practice that spot. You get one chance with a spot like
Yeah.
that. So if it goes wrong, somebody could be seriously hurt. So hats off
Mhm.
to Omega and his opponent for that spot, because I was just like, wow, what a way to end it. And Matt Hardy, screaming in his ear, like,
Mhm.
delete him. The,
Yeah,
everything
classic
about,
Matt Hardy.
yeah, everything about this match worked. The different
Mhm.
versions of Matt Hardy, the
Yeah.
chair of
I
wheels.
wasn't expecting the version one Matt Hardy.
Oh God, me
I didn't think
either.
we were going to see that one.
Me either. And them getting
Mhm.
around the WWE copyright with, instead of calling it Mattitude, they called it
Mhm.
Matter of Facts. I thought that
Yeah,
was
they even had the
really,
Matt facts too. That
yeah.
was cool.
But they called it Matter of Facts instead of Mattitude Facts, which I thought was a really smart way to
Right.
do it,
Yeah.
because technically they didn't violate any copyrights there because they changed the
Mhm.
name and changed the look of it. So yeah, I just loved everything about this match. This is a match I'm
Mhm.
definitely gonna have to go back and watch again
Yeah, too.
a couple of times to figure out like what all happened. But yeah, this to me was the match of 2020, hands down. This was the match of the year
Mm.
so far.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
loved everything about this match. I mean, this match is the reason you watch AEW. If you're not watching AEW, once you see this match, you're like, okay, now I get what this company is all about. Because this was great. And
Mm-hmm.
you know that Chris Jericho has been my favorite male wrestler for ever since I was into wrestling, and he just
Yeah.
keeps reinventing himself and gets better and better and better. And you can tell he's just having a blast right now with this feud with the Elite and being the leader of the Inner Circle. So yeah, I could go on about this match for hours, which we're about to do another show, so I
Right.
actually can. But you know,
Yep.
I just loved everything about this. I thought if there were no other reason, which obviously there were, but if there were no other reason why I wanted to give AEW that money, it would have been for
Mm-hmm.
this match. I mean, this
I
was
could see
just
that.
perfectly well done. I
Yeah.
loved it.
And then before we actually end things off, I know we had on the buy-in, of course, that extra added match, and in that one, where we actually had best friends and private party go at it, and basically with an added twist, and to see who would basically move on, and to see who would face the tag team champions. So, best ones, I'm actually cool with that, and to see them and possibly even Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega to see how that would go, kind of like two fan favorites in the future match. So, that was the only extra added match that was on the buy-in. So if you wanted to talk about that and see who they ever face in the near future and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I was not surprised at all by Best Friends winning here because Best Friends has been the only built tag team in AEW, pretty much with
Hmm.
Hangman Adam Page not being able to work until now because
Yeah,
of the pandemic. So I was
which
not
is
surprised at
crazy.
all. Yeah, I was
Hmm.
not surprised at all by this outcome. And they actually were feuding in a small way, Best Friends and Page and Omega were feuding in a small way before this all went down the last few months. So it's nice to keep that plate spinning and remember that we had a storyline going on before all the craziness. So
Hmm.
the only thing I didn't like was the use of private party here. Like, why not bring in another tag team that doesn't get hurt by losing? Because
Hmm.
and they had built Private Party up as potential future stars, but every time we see them now, they're losing. So I would have much preferred. I know they were in the ladder match, and that's cool, but I would much have preferred like SCU, who doesn't hurt from losing the best friends in this
Yeah.
spot. That's the only thing I would have changed. But yeah, Best Friends is a wonderful tag team. And I've always loved Trent. I loved Trent when
Hmm.
he was in NXT, like way back when. So I've always
Yeah,
thought
I remember that.
he was extremely underrated talent. So I, you know, I'm all for what they did here for sure.
Yeah, and that pretty much does it with all the matches and everything, and getting into like overall thoughts before we end things. And for AEW Double or Nothing, I thought it was really enjoyable, definitely well worth it. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely go check it out, especially with the replay and everything. So, like I said before, it's not like they have pay-per-views every single month and every once in a while. So that's really cool and refreshing that way. So not a whole lot of companies are doing that so much, but definitely go check it out. And what are your overall thoughts on Double or Nothing?
Pay-per-view of the year, hands down. I loved WrestleMania for everything they had to do,
Hmm.
but AEW, with them, we talked about this. With them waiting 3 to 4 months between pay-per-views, it allows them to really plan out every aspect of what they're doing. And
Hmm.
I think that really just shined and showed up big time during this show. So
Hmm.
from top to bottom, pay per view of the year. So, like David said, if you haven't checked this out, check it out. Which, by the way, thank you for sitting through this entire podcast. If you haven't checked out the pay per view yet, and clearly you don't care about spoilers, or maybe you're
Hmm.
wanting to hear opinions before you decide to check it out, like maybe you're new
Yeah.
to AEW, which if you are new to AEW, this is the perfect show to jump in on and see what they're all about. And the only other thing I wanted to point out was that I'm surprised how fast this year went because this was the 1 year
Hmm.
anniversary for the official existence of the company. Of course, we had the All In pay per view, which was like kind of like the prelude that sold Tony Khan on what these guys were trying to do. But this
Yeah,
was the official 1 year anniversary of All Elite Wrestling. So I was
that's true. Yeah,
surprised by how fast this year's went because the company doesn't feel a year old by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, great show. 5 out of 5. If I give it a star rating, you know, just my favorite pay per view of the year, bar none.
dope. Yeah, so that pretty much does it for what we thought the matches and the overall show itself. And for the End Up Hot Seat podcast, again, you probably see me and other guests and stuff like that. So I'm looking to have the audio version of this, what we talked about for AEW Double or Nothing, hopefully shortly, sometime today and everything. So be on the lookout for that on Anchor and on Spotify. And here's to many more episodes of In the Hot Seat, the podcast. And if you have any shout outs and stuff that you have before we end things off, feel free to do
Yeah,
so.
just well, we mentioned it earlier. Just check out In Ring Reality. Obviously, if you're a big fan of wrestling podcasts, which you are from watching
Hmm.
this one, I'm just as passionate about wrestling as Fort Minor is.
Yep.
So definitely check out the In Ring Reality podcast. It'll be David's second appearance over on there. You can find us just at In Reality everywhere. So we have the live on YouTube, we have live on Facebook. You can get in touch with the show on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, as I mentioned. And you can also email us at inringreality@gmail.com. And then for my personal social media, it's just at Josh Wazowskis everywhere, as you see on the display here. Or also, you can check out my fan page for Becky Lynch. If you're a huge Becky Lynch fan, I have an Instagram fan page called Deadly Becky Lynch is the GOAT. So if you're into that, you
Yep.
can check that out. And also, check us out. I'm going to need about a half hour and 45 minutes because my lunch came to me while we were streaming. So I want
Cool
to,
beans.
yeah, so I want to go ahead and eat. But
Hmm.
if you're down to hearing us again, if you're watching this
Hmm.
live, then we'll be back together in about half hour, 45 minutes. And yeah, just again, man, thanks for having me. It's always cool to hang out with you.
Now, yeah, definitely check him out on all his platforms as well as mine. Pretty much Fortminorproject all across the board. And until then, we'll definitely be back for more. I know I will for more of the In the Hot Seat podcast, whenever that podcast may be. Until then, stay safe. See ya.